My Guide to Self-Publishing. After a break of about 12 years since I wrote my last book, I decided to start again in retirement. And rather than look for opportunities to print books again, I thought I would try self-publishing for the Amazon Kindle, which I like to use myself. Um, my first book uh, is also available in paperback, and I decided to utilize 23 years experience as a head teacher to come up with my first book. It's just really a number of hints for anyone starting off, and how to lead an organization. And as you can see from the front cover of the book, I used a picture of myself with Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, and I turned it into a sketch and then used that for my first front cover. Mind you, I think I've probably learned a little bit about designing front covers since I started. I think probably do a better job now. Um, why would you self-publish? Well, you could do it for just your family. You maybe as a golden wedding or something of that sort to celebrate. Uh, Specific events. It could be something like 100 years of a Rotary Club. Um, but in my case, I decided, well, it's just to share my knowledge and experience, and simply I just fancied doing something to keep me busy in retirement, and I really do enjoy the creative process in writing. For self-publishing, well, the costs are near zero. Traditional publishing can be very expensive. You print off 100 books and you can be spending thousands of pounds, and you've no guarantee you're going to sell any of them. The marketing isn't straightforward. It's certainly not as straightforward as it appears. And you've got to decide, are you going to advertise? Are you going to spend money on advertising? All of that sort of thing. So yeah, it's something to consider. We'll cover that later. Starting off, first of all, if you're thinking about self-publishing, the first stage is to come up with a detailed plan for what you're going to write about. And then just start writing. I found it's really best just to get underway and write on a single Word document. And don't bother about chapter headings or anything else, any detailed editing. That comes much later on. There are a number of grammar and spell checking tools that you can use to help you with your editing. Examples such as Grammarly or Editor in Word. I found both these are very useful for picking up grammar and spelling errors that are unintentional. They pick up about 90% of the errors, and if you're not happy checking your own work, then perhaps you need to get some help to polish up your writing. Now, design for text-only ebooks, or even those that have some illustrations, is really down to using headings and subheadings. Only when you're setting the book for a paperback version do you really need to be careful about submitting your PDF file. Now, files, here are some examples of files for Kindle and paperback. The first one on the left is a file I submitted for Kindle, and as you can see, the chapter heading, atmospheric circulation, and the subheading, redistribution of energy, are at the bottom of a page. It's just simply because it's naturally followed on from a diagram, which you can see part of it above it. And then the actual text just happens to be on the next page. You don't bother setting out your ebook headings, because people who are reading on an ebook, whether it be on a phone or a Kindle or an iPad, they set their own text size, and the chapter headings will appear at the top of a page for them, whichever text size they're going to use. So as far as you're concerned, you set the chapter heading and the subheading. You don't need to worry about anything else. The Kindle will deal with all of that itself. The middle page is really a screenshot of the contents page, and as you can see, when you highlight contents, it then throws up a little menu at the top which says update table, and you can do this periodically as you go through a book. But it also provides the opportunity for the contents the pages and the chapter headings and so forth to update as you're using the Kindle. So depending on their font size that someone's using, the chapter headings will appear on different pages for different people. Paperback file on PDF is the last one, and as you can see, the page number I've got at the top, the heading, the chapter heading atmospheric circulation in bold at the top, and the subheading redistribution of energy, and then it's followed by the text. And that's the way you design it to appear in a paperback version, and that's what you actually set on your PDF file. You set it the way you want it to look when it's printed. The ebook, once you've uploaded it from Word file and once it's active, as I said, readers can set their own text size. For paperback versions, as I said, the PDF document indicates the way you actually see the paper when it's actually printed on paper. Now, publishing is relatively straightforward. Uploading a document onto kdp.amazon.com is very, very straightforward. There are very simple instructions to follow, and you have an opportunity to view the book online before you commit to publishing. And I was always advised you do that, because you can never always be sure that every diagram is going to take the way you want it to, and there are glitches sometimes with Word files, and you really need to check it through on the Amazon KDP page before you actually commit to publishing. The book covers, front and back, have to be produced, and Amazon provide a tool for that, and it's excellent. There's really no design expertise needed. You can do it really simply yourself. Now, this is a screenshot of KDP, and you'll see it's a picture of my KDP page, where one of my books is down at the bottom, The Atmosphere and Climate Change, and it shows both the Kindle ebook and the paperback are live. But you can see at the top of the page it says you can create a new title, and simply if you hit on that Kindle ebook plus sign to the left of the text, that's you starting. And the first thing is you put in your information about your book, what it contains, then you upload the document. There's an opportunity to produce a book cover, there's description and keywords and categories, and then the ISBN, which you don't have to worry about because Amazon will provide that for you. You'll see that for my book there, The Atmosphere and Climate Change, there's a price set. I set the Kindle ebook as virtually as cheap as I can at £1.49. It gives you a range at which it will allow you to set the price, because they've got to make their money. I'm just setting it cheap because I'm not interested in making anything. And obviously when you're coming to produce a paperback, well, it's nearly a fiver for a paperback, because who knows, they might only be producing handfuls of documents, and that's quite an expensive way to do it. So £5 for producing a paperback actually isn't bad. Now, as I said, ISBNs are all done for you by Amazon. You don't have to worry about that, and that can be a really fiddly thing if you're publishing for yourself. Desktop publishing for books and things of that sort, well, for a text-based book, or even for things that you're going to have which have got diagrams in, Word is very straightforward, and that uploads really straightforwardly onto it. And as I said before, headings and for chapters and sub-chapters is a straightforward thing to do. The layout, I tend to use 5 by 8 inches, simply to replicate the rough size of a Kindle screen. Amazon's will produce paperbacks to this size, which is a pocket size. It'll fit in a jacket pocket, and that was the idea I had. I mean, I wanted people to be able to take these sort of books and to just stick them into their jacket pocket, and they can read them on the bus or train or whatever else. You need to decide what size your book is going to be before you start writing. Think about how it's going to be used. Is it going to be a coffee table book, in which case you probably want it A4? Is it going to be a small pocket book like mine? It'd be 5 by 8, or something in between. Think about the diagrams and the photographs that you're going to have in it. That all of that has an impact on the size you might want. I mean, if you're putting a lot of photographs in, you want people to be able to read them or see them properly. So that has some sort of impact on the size you're going for. Now, you need to be able to use IT. You have to have Microsoft Word and the ability simply to convert it into a PDF document when you're producing, say, a paperback. You do not need to worry about orders and paying and all of that sort of thing. Amazon organise all that. People order them and they pay a royalty based on the sales. And that amount of royalty will reflect basically on the price you set for the book. You can set it, there'll be a lower limit for you, but you can set it quite high if you wish to. I mean, it's entirely up to yourself. Now, you're unlikely to earn an awful lot from self-publishing unless you're producing for a particular market that's looking for something. And if you do start earning, you need to keep track of your sales and royalties, which, as far as Amazon's concerned, is pretty good. They keep very good records online, and you can dip into them at any time. This is the start of putting a book up onto Amazon. When you go into KDP, obviously you're providing things like a book title. You might have a series title. You've got the author's name, any other contributors, and then you can put in a description which describes the book. The front cover has to be designed. It can be downloaded as a PDF, or you can upload a photograph that fits the requirements by Amazon to put onto a book, or you can even choose one of the free photographs or designs that they have, which is very, very easy to use. As far as the back cover for paperbacks, they provide a design draft on Amazon, which uses the information you've provided when you're setting up the book, and you can edit this as freely as you want. No need to worry about ISBN, all that automatically done. And as I said before, proofreading, design, and editing. If you need help, get it before you start publishing your book. This is what the cover creator looks like on Amazon KDP. It's Kindle Direct Publishing KDP, and it lists the things that you do to produce a cover. And it's all very straightforward. It gives you all the information at every single step. It tells you how to do it. It shows you examples of different styles, and it goes through all the various things. And then it really is very, very straightforward to use. Lots of help available on that. The 3 books that I've published so far, said the first one was my attempt at designing a cover. Second one, I came up with an idea and I asked my son to source a photograph for me and come up with a layout that looked nice, and basically took that idea and came up with that one for me. And the third one, which is a little bit crisper in real life, for some reason this photograph is a bit blurry, but I took one of the photographs which was freely available on Amazon and just used the cover creator to produce the book cover, which gave a nice result when you actually see it in the flesh. Now, if you want people to read your book, what can you do? Well, Amazon does allow you to periodically promote your book. For example, you can offer it for sale free for up to 5 days every 90 days or so. So you can't do it very often, but if you're going to do that, you have to let people know somehow that you're putting this offer on. You can also offer it at a reduced price as well. If you're offering it, you then have to use social media to promote it. I've used Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn just to let people know that I've got a new book out and I'm offering it free for a 5-day period. You also can join the KDP Select service, just make your book available on that. That means it's freely available to users who pay for this sort of monthly service. And you are paid based on the numbers of pages that are actually read as a percentage of the entire scheme. And then lastly, you can pay to advertise on Amazon or BookBub, but unless you are a known quantity or an author well known, or you're writing about a topic that's really current, quite difficult to make an impression, even paying for a little bit of marketing. So I think that's one I would leave for the time being. Here's a couple of examples. I produced when I was I've currently sort of put my Atmosphere and Climate Change on promotion, that book, and the way I got advice was I got advice from my son. He said find something that's relevant to your topic and then maybe comment on that, but then also let them know that your book is available free or at a reduction. And that's what I've done. You see one post on Facebook on the left hand side and a slightly different one on Twitter on the right hand side. So you're picking up something from somebody else and utilizing that, commenting on that, and then saying, by the way, I've got a book that's free at the moment if you want to download it. As I said, KDP on Amazon, they have very good records, and you've also got graphs which show that the top graph shows in blue books that I've offered free. The first graph on the left hand side is my most recent book, Population and Migration, and I offered that free when I released the book for 5 days, and you can see a couple hundred people have taken the opportunity to download it, although some people have obviously gone back and bought paperback copies as well, which is quite interesting. And on the right hand side I offered my book, which has been out for a year or so, The Atmosphere and Climate Change, again on probably the third free promotion. It's still taking over. It's got a little bit of interest there, not quite as much because a lot of the people I'm telling about it have already got the book. And then down at the bottom you can see that I mentioned that you can enroll your book in KDP, a service that people pay monthly for, and depending on how many pages are read on that free service, you get paid a royalty based on the number of pages read. And you can see that corresponding with times when my book's been on promotion, people are actually who don't need to pay for the book anyway are reading it on the KDP service, and I will get a minuscule royalty for them accessing the book in that way. But as I said, the information is very good and it's there for all time, so you can search exactly how much you've earned. And maybe if you decide you've made a tenner off it 1 month, you might want to spend that tenner advertising, who knows. My next project, I've got one new book in preparation, which is Behaviour Management in Schools. As I said, I'm not going to make any money from this. I just enjoy the creative process, and I'm hoping it's keeping my brain working a bit longer. At least I hope that's what's happening anyway. And that's really my brief summary of how you self-publish.